Hello and welcome to the Amateur Austenite. My name is Frances Duncan. I am an author and the founder of the Jane Austen Society of New Zealand. My co-host is my friend Sian.
Hello!
And today we're discussing Chapter 25 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. In Chapter 25, the Mansfield family has dinner at the parsonage, and Sir Thomas observes that Mr Crawford is into Fanny. They play cards and talk about Thornton Lacey, and Mr Crawford has ridiculous ideas for Thornton Lacey, and Miss Crawford does not want to know about Thornton Lacey, and Fanny and William talk about dancing. Sir Thomas could not avoid perceiving in a grand and careless way that Mr Crawford was somewhat distinguishing his niece. He sees them together at dinner at the parsonage and thinks that anyone in the habit of such idle observations would have thought that Mr Crawford was the admirer of Fanny Price. Had Sir Thomas been home earlier, he would have seen what Mr Crawford was up to with Maria. But then you were saying that potentially Mr Crawford would not have behaved that way were Sir Thomas at home.
And nor would Maria.
No, that's very true. Maria was a very naughty girl.
The irony is that Mrs Norris, for all of her so-called control, did absolutely nothing about it.
She didn't see it. How is that going on right in front of you and no one sees it? Julia and Fanny seem to be the only ones that could see what was going on.
And Mary.
That's true. Mrs Norris is also invited to dinner at the parsonage and makes a nuisance of herself.
We decided that she'd only been invited to make up the numbers.
So they would have equal numbers.
Oh.
She fights with Dr. Grant over cards and is bitchy to Fanny as they're leaving about the carriage. How dare you keep the coachman waiting? Because the coachman apparently is more important than Fanny. They have 2 tables of cards. One plays whist and one plays speculation. Lady Bertram doesn't know which to play, and Sir Thomas thinks that it would not much amuse him to have her as a partner, so he suggests that she plays speculation rather than whist, so he doesn't get stuck with her. She doesn't know how to play the game, neither does Fanny, so Mr Crawford manages all 3 of their hands.
Because Fanny's capable of learning.
And she does, she picks it up really quickly.
Her challenge is she doesn't want to win if it means her brother's going to. She's still so focused on her brother.
Fanny is going to win, and Edmund says and Fanny had much rather a Williams game. Poor Fanny not allowed to cheat herself as she wishes. Mr Crawford tells a story about getting lost on his horse because men can never ask for directions.
That was so funny, because I can never bear to ask, and I never inquire. 200 years later, and men are still not asking for directions.
He makes an interesting observation. I never do wrong without gaining by it. With his horse having thrown a shoe and getting a little bit lost, he's stumbled upon Thornton Lacey, which is where Edmund is going to live. That's his parish.
So even though something bad happened, he's got something interesting out of it.
And I wonder if that's just how he lives his life. Doesn't matter if I'm misbehaving, something good will come out of it.
He's a rich and feckless young man who's never had to face any consequences. He's not out of his way maliciously. Well, maybe a little bit here. He's not even a trickster. He's just a pain because he's so charming. But he doesn't have to make any effort for anything.
He is charming. He tells a good story. When Edmund is asking him how he got home, I love his answer. I answer no such irrelevant and insidious questions. So I actually don't know. I got here. That's the main thing. But his turn of phrase, he's so entertaining. He has grand ideas for improvements at Thornton Lacey, saying, nothing can be easier. Get rid of the farm, pick up the house, turn it round, turn that meadow into a garden. And those meadows that are next to the house, if they don't belong to it, you must purchase them. Edmund says, I must be satisfied with rather less ornament and beauty, without any very heavy expense.
I love his phrase that how Edmund does this, actually. It actually shows a bit of wit, which you don't always see there. Henry saying, I've got some ideas for this place. Then Edmund comes in, and I also have 2 or 3 ideas about this place. And one of them is that very little of your plan for Thornton Lacey will go ahead. It's
Mr Crawford will not stop because he's so excited about the whole thing. And he really makes it clear that with some improvements, The owner of Thornton Lacey will be set down as the great landholder of the parish, and this is important to him, and it's important to Miss Crawford.
And nobody's able to play the game very well. So they're all playing this speculation, which for those of you who don't understand, basically you bid on cards. It's sort of a bit like a stock market game, really, isn't it? So you are speculating, presumably for not a lot of money. They wouldn't have been allowed to gamble for much.
Sir Thomas says that a parish has wants and claims which can be known only by a clergyman constantly resident, and which no proxy can be capable of satisfying to the same extent. Edmund knows human nature needs more lessons than a weekly sermon can convey. And Miss Crawford hears this and is not happy with Sir Thomas because she was listening to her brother seeing Thornton Lacey as a gentleman's residence, shutting out the church, sinking the clergyman, and seeing only the respectable, elegant, modernised and occasional residence of a man of independent fortune. She's going hard out in the game of speculation.
But she's bidding so badly.
Because she's angry and upset. She says, if I lose the game, it shall not be from not striving for it. So I think it's part of Jane Austen going, this is her striving for Edmund as well.
It is. I think there is a bit of a parallel then. And meanwhile, William's happily earning vast amounts of money. There's only 3 people playing this game. Fanny and Lady Bertram are not being allowed to play. It must be a very strange game to watch. So you've got this very irate Mary.
William's probably just trying to have a good time.
Yes.
Edmund's probably just trying to have a good time, though not as much as William. And then Mr Crawford is controlling the other 2 in his own cast.
He's a control freak.
Mary says that if Edmund does do the improvements at Thornton Lacey, he should get Mr Crawford to help. Only think how useful he was at Southerton. I don't know what she's referring to here, but Mr Crawford sees how upset Fanny is and says to her, do not think of me as I appeared then. He seems so sincere. William asks whether Fanny is good at dancing, and Henry Crawford says he's happy to compliment her, but there is one person in company who does not like to have Miss Price spoken of. But the fact is, he could not for the life of him recall what her dancing had been, and rather took it for granted that she had been present than remembered anything about her.
He's very careful in his words. He doesn't explicitly say, oh yes, she's a wonderful dancer or anything.
Mr Crawford continues his attentions as they're leaving. Fanny's shawl is seized by Mr Crawford, who has a quicker hand than Edmund, and she was obliged to be indebted to his more prominent attention. She would rather it were Edmund, basically.
Sir Thomas heard, and he's not offended by some of his comments about the improving and perfecting, etc. He didn't see any want of respect in the young man's address, and Fanny's reception was so proper and modest, so calm and uninviting, that he had nothing to censor in her.
How is she ever supposed to get married? If she's supposed to be calm and not really appreciative of the notice, if he's like she's behaving appropriately, would not a normal guy go, she is not interested, I'm backing off?
No, because they didn't necessarily always know. They could be quite restrained. Henry Crawford, or anyone, would then ask Sir Thomas for permission to court her. Then the courting period is all about the getting to know. It's before getting engaged. You can stop courting without any reflection on your relationship, that you've committed anything further. If you got engaged, then you have more permission. Well, actually, you're at more risk of losing your reputation if the engagement ends. But if you do courting, you don't, because you still have more control and you have less freedoms. But the courting is all about getting to know each other. So that's what would have happened, is that Henry Crawford would have asked, I'm interested in Fanny, I'd like to get to know her better, I think we could do well or whatever. I don't know what she thinks, but, is it worthwhile? And so then she'd say, well, I don't know him very well. But actually, we know she knows him very well. Or at least she thinks she knows him very well.
She knows him better than most.
Well, that's right.
She sees what he's about.
Yes. And he goes on to say, I want to be your neighbour, Sir Thomas, as you've heard. So I hope for your acquiescence, for not your influencing your son against such a tenant.
He wants to rent Thornton Lacey, assuming that Edmund is going to live at Mansfield Park. But Sir Thomas makes it clear he expects Edmund to live at Thornton Lacey. in a roundabout way, says to Mr Crawford, I don't want you so far away. You could almost stay at our house instead. And that is our summary of Chapter 25 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. My name is Frances Duncan. You can find me at francesduncanwrites.com and on Twitter at Frances_Duncan. Thank you for listening, and we wish you happy reading.